Give it again, Freeman.
FreemanNH@gmail.
It's on its way.
Thanks, Glenn.
Yeah.
Let's see what time it is. All right. I assume Monica's going to be here.
Yeah, she said she was, Debbie.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, Kathy's here. Good. Okay. I see SAU 44. Is that Aaron or is that Monica?
Yeah, that's me.
Aaron. Okay. It's 6 o'clock. There's Monica. Okay. Hello, Monica.
Hey there.
All righty. I don't know. I know Eric isn't joining us, but we have a quorum, so I think we're going to get started. Okay, let's start the meeting at 6 o'clock, and it is April 28th, 2021, and a roll call. Carrie.
Yes.
Erica? Not yet. She may be late. Eric is not here. Liz? Here. And Debbie, yes. Okay. All righty. So we have a quorum of the board. So we'll start. You know what? I'm going to move, if everybody's okay with this, since we only have 3 people here, 3 board members. I'm going to move the minutes, the approval of the minutes to the next meeting. If that's okay. Let's get right to Glenn, because we're going to do a non-public, Monica, at the end, right?
Yes. We can do it at the end. Yeah.
Oh, Erica's here. And Erica is here. All righty. Okay, so Glenn, do you want to start with your report?
Sure. So page 18 of your packet should have the memo listing the reports that are included in the financial reports this evening. So starting on page 19 is the first financial report of the summary of revenues through April 15th. So if we look at the grand total collected, so grand total under the year-to-date or YTD column, there's been $10,433,610 collected through April 15th. The outstanding revenues that we know for sure are going to come in between now and the end of the year is certainly the 1.3 million in town appropriations, which would give us a worst case scenario of collected revenues at the end of the fiscal year of $11.7 million. Are there any questions in regards to the summary of revenues? Okay.
Nope.
Hearing none. On page 20 is summary of expenditures. And this, again, this is a 30,000 foot level looking at expenditures by department within the school. And it includes both the general fund as well as the food service, which is 04. And it's showing a year-to-date expended of just shy of $8.7 million. And with encumbrances and projected budget balance off of this report, we're looking at about $700,000.
Glenn, I do have a question about the revenue. That doesn't
Yep.
include the grants that we received for COVID, right?
No, because those would be included in grants fund. The ESSER grants are in the grants fund. The only grant that would be reflective here would be the SPSRF monies.
Right.
And that would be the SPSRF. If you look at under just above the total of the general fund, there's other restricted aid and then other restricted aid distribution. So other districts or other restricted aid of 148,832. That was the total of the SPSRF money that came in. And the 44,000 was the distribution to Co-Brown of the SPSRF monies. And there. All right, on to page 21 is as of April 20th, or actually through the actuals of April 15th, our best guesstimate of what the year-end surplus balance might look like. So if we scroll down through this, Go ahead. Somebody have a question?
Oh no, I was just oohing and ahhing about this.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So at the top of the page, we have the first section is the general fund. And the first subsection in there is the revenue. So again, we see the actual received of 10.3, almost $10.4 million. Anticipated to collect. The only thing I included was, in fact, the town appropriations that we know is coming in. Obviously, there'll be additional other revenues that will come in. So a reasonable estimate is total anticipated revenues of 11.716. Expenditures through April 15th, actual of shy of $8.6 million. The anticipated to expend, that $2.3 million is looking at the actual expenditures from March 16th through April 15th. So basically saying that's kind of an average month expenditure that we can expect to expend for the remaining 2.5 months left in the fiscal year. And that's how you get the 2.3, or at least that's how I got the 2.3. So leaving a total anticipated expenditure of just shy of $11 million. And then we carry down to the middle of the page is the food service fund. Again, actual received. Anticipated to collect would be the food service National School Lunch Program claims for the remaining 3 months. And I think this $4,000 again is probably a low estimate, but I usually always err on the side of conservatism on revenues. So showing a total revenue, anticipated revenue of $41,625 for the food service, and expenditures actual of $95,172. The anticipated to expend was calculated the same way, looking at the actuals from March 16th to April 15th, and then multiplying that times 2.5 gives us a total anticipated to expend of $149,788. If we add up all of the pluses and minuses in that far column to the right-hand side, we get our year-end projected operational surplus of $676,000. There's $50,000 worth of warrant articles that have passed that, in essence, have committed $50,000 of that surplus, leaving a projected year-end final surplus uncommitted of $626,018.
That's great, I think.
Well, when we get, I think there's some other things I don't think we encumbered as I was looking through the line by line, but it's definitely more than we anticipated, so it's good.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the fund balance projection? Okay, page 22 is a summary of expenditures, individual line items that at this point have a projected budget balance that would exceed over expending by $1,000. And then notes on lines that we we know why they expended. But at the same time, I'll definitely point out that, remember that all of these over expends are certainly covered within the total operational budget that we're showing a $670,000 operational surplus. And pages 23 through through 31 are all the individual line items for their entire school local operating budget, showing the budget. The range to date would be for the period of March 16th through the 21st, year-to-date expenditures through April 15th, budget balance, and then encumbrance would be any purchase orders or contracts that we know that we certainly are going to expend, and then leaving our final projected budget balance. And Debbie, I think you got some questions.
Right. Yeah. Just a few things that I think weren't encumbered, and I'm just checking. One would be on page 27, the contracted services for preschool. Why there's $10,000 left in that line. I know the preschool coordinator was $20,000. So I'm not sure why there's any money left in that line. Just if you could check it.
Can you give me a line number or account number just so I can narrow it?
Oh my goodness, let me get a magnifying glass. 01215053237700.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then I had another question. When we get to the tech director lines, where are we including Aaron in there, or what do we do? Where's Aaron?
No, Aaron is being expended from school board expenses.
Oh, okay. The school board expenses were high. I thought they were legal issues or something. Okay.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Okay. So our audit expenses, you know the line, right? On page
Yep.
6, we budgeted $10,000. Isn't that what our audit costs? Because it says we still have money left in that.
There's still a final bill to come. I think that
Okay.
I think the audit will be a little less than 10,000. I don't think it's going to exceed 10,000.
Okay.
I know that they had just. I know you've got the final reports to review and discuss at an upcoming meeting, and so either certainly after the 15th. I don't believe it's shown up yet. We should be seeing their final billing for the completion.
All right. And then the electricity and propane, we have large balances there. $34,000 in electricity and 23, I can't really read this. Over $23,000, I think it says, in propane. And do we actually have that much left, or we just haven't encumbered it?
We saved $21,000 last year on electricity alone.
So didn't we budget less, or? So that's what I'm just confused about, because it's almost $50,000, and I don't know between the two of them. Actually, it's like more like 60. So I'm not sure if. I mean, do we save that much money in both propane and electricity, or we just haven't encumbered it?
Both.
Well,
the answer is both. We have saved that much money.
Yeah.
And
we have?
No, we have not issued purchase orders to encumber bills that we don't know how much they're going to be for.
Okay. So when we say we have this big surplus, we're not sure yet because we still have money in here.
Well, I feel comfortable with the number I gave you because if you look at the range to date that's been expended, of $4,800 for electricity and $12,000 for propane, I multiplied each of those saying we're going to expend that exact same amount for the next 2.5 months, each of the next 2.5 months.
Okay.
In propane, we're certainly going to expend less because we're going to have less heating days.
Now, Debbie, between 2019 and 2020, calendar years, not school years, we saved $21,000 on electricity.
That's great.
Yeah, because most of that was the lighting, but some of it was because we were closed down a few months. You know, we were out of business for a little while, but I do anticipate $16,000 a year anyway on electric savings. Just
Good.
electricity.
And
Yeah,
the propane
yeah,
too?
Well, we did kind of have a mild winter. You know, that's all subjective, and I mean that's all. There's a lot of variables with that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the electricity is pretty much those lights are saving us a lot of money.
That's great, Carrie.
It is. It is.
Yes.
I finally got something right. Only took
You've got
3.5
You
years.
did a lot. You've done a lot right. And so the athletic transportation, we will be using buses for baseball and softball, right? Kathy? Yes.
At this point, I don't think we will be, because I
Okay.
think Dale has, they indicated they did not have drivers or buses to provide. So
Okay.
Claire was working on carpooling and setting that up with coaches and players' parents and things.
Okay. All right.
Unless
Thank you.
But that was the last I heard.
Okay. And then when we look at the payment of interest and principal, where we still have budget balances, now whatever we budgeted, isn't that what we have to pay? Or is that actually the balance?
I have to check and see if there's another bond payment that's due.
Okay.
I seeing how there is not, there's no more principal that's due. There may be an interest only payment, but that's unlikely, but I can definitely check.
Okay. All right. I guess those are my questions on the budget. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Glenn.
Welcome.
Anybody
Thank
else
you,
have any
Glenn.
questions? Oh, okay.
Okay, let me regroup here. So back to, let's see, page 32, we start the individual grant reports.
Mhm.
And first is the 2019-2020 REAP grant. Next, page 32, 2021 REAP grant.
So
Yep.
I have a question on all of these. When I see these balances, I know I've asked this question before, but you know, it's not on the grant, the expiration date, and are these numbers up to date? You know, do we
So-
really have?
The 1920 grants all have a spend date by September 30th of this fiscal year, 2021. And the 2021 grants all have a expenditure by 2022.
Okay,
So there's still certainly time to
a lot of time. Okay, good.
spend those funds. Then we're into the Title I grant for 2021. Page 35 is Title II for actually the 2018-2019, and that too has an expire date as of 9/30/2021. Title II for 2019-2020, page 36. Page 37, the 2018-19 Title IV. 2019-2020 Title IV. And we're into the IDA grants for 2018-19 on page 39. 2019-2020 IDA, page 40. And 2020-2021 IDA grant on page 41. A lot of grants in the Strafford School District. On page 42 is the remote learning grant for 2020. 43 is the CARES or ESSER grant. This would be, I believe, the first one. So this was the one that was came out last spring. And that's the end of the grant reports. Page 44, statement of cash flows. So it shows our actual cash inflows and outflows each of the months through March 31st. Our ending checkbook balance of $562,447 compared to the bank statement balance of $629,084. And then our projected inflows and outflows for the final 3 months of the fiscal year. Page 45 is just a snapshot of just the month of March, showing the beginning checkbook balance, the inflows, outflows, and the ending checkbook balance. And pages 46 and 47 is the summary report that we started way back last spring of expenses as they come through that were either noted as related to COVID items or COVID expenditures in various subtotal categories. And these are reflective of expenditures through the end of March.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Glenn? Glenn, I'm just going to ask you a question. When we get to our transition update, there are some things that we need to purchase out of this year's surplus. It's under, what did we say, Aaron? Was it $11,000?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's around $11,000. Do you feel comfortable with that if the board chooses to do so? Is Glenn frozen?
It looks like it.
I think he's
He's
frozen.
very still.
Okay.
Oh no.
I turned off my video because I was you were lagging a bit, so I was wondering if maybe it was my internet connection. So I didn't hear the whole question. I caught the end. Was the question that you've got about 11,000 transitional
we
costs
have,
that you're looking to
There's
expend out of
about $11,000 worth
budget?
of things that we need to purchase for the SAU before July 1st. We budgeted for them for next year, but there are some timely decisions that need to be made to make sure we have equipment in on time and such. So would you feel comfortable if the board approves to spend $11,000 out of our surplus, that we have enough money to cover that?
Yes, I certainly feel comfortable that there is at least an extra $11,000 surplus in the local operating budget.
Okay. All right. If we don't have any more questions for Glenn, I think Glenn can go. If anybody else has any questions. No?
I'm all set.
All right. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, Glenn.
Okay, thanks. Have a good evening.
Okay, too.
You too.
Bye.
All righty. Principals report.
Monica, I didn't know, did you want me to share that, or I sent that to you? Did the board get that? I wasn't sure.
I sent things to the board. Mary does. Yeah, you could certainly screen share. I don't know if it went in the packet. I don't remember.
I don't think the board received anything. We
Okay.
received your report.
Okay, so I don't know, I just don't want to share anything that that I shouldn't. So.
Do you want to wait till after non-public or something, or you?
I just want to make sure I'm not sharing anything that's sensitive.
Great.
Let's see. Well, I think at least the first part I can go ahead. So the first part is all great news about graduation and formal and trips and awards.
Kathy, would you please share your screen? Aaron,
I can't if I'm not the host.
Aaron, would you give Kathy co-host?
Yeah, I did.
Thanks.
I'm not seeing that right at the moment.
Yeah, the share screen button at the bottom of the panel there.
I do not.
You have hosting permission.
There we go. Okay, hold on. Okay, so let's see. I'm not used to screen sharing.
There you go.
How is that?
All right.
So, really just to give the board kind of an update. So the advisors, I would love to say that I did all of this. I did not. The advisors for the 8th grade came up with all of these specific things in terms of activities, just to get board approval to make sure that this would be something that we could do to help celebrate our 8th graders. The first one is the semi-formal, and picked dates of the 11th through the 18th. They weren't really sure which one of those worked better. Wanted to do that 8th grade only. Wouldn't have food at this point. I mean, obviously, if things changed with the CDC, we could certainly update that. Same thing with the masks, but the social distancing would continue. And if you've ever been to one of our 8th grade or one of our dances, they dance slow dances in a line, which would definitely not correspond with the social distancing. So we did have no slow music at this point just to minimize the contact piece. The second part was the trip. They have worked out, and you can see all the times, and let's see. They picked Chucksters. I have no idea what that is, but apparently it's a very cool place that kids love. Picked to do that on Wednesday, June 3rd. Transportation, if they did one bus, student raised money would cover. Second bus, if we had to do that with social distancing and numbers, they did wonder if we could possibly use COVID money, since that would be a social distancing piece, just to put that on there. Each student would get a day pass, bring their own lunch, and then there's the times and all of that, the specifics. This next part that's probably different than I think what everyone is used to, but in thinking about how to do graduation and have it outside, there is always an awards portion of graduation, and there's also an awards event that happens during the day at the school. What we had talked about doing was having the awards during the day, which is those academic pieces, and doing that along with the other awards and things that we do during the school day. We would video that and provide that for families, but would not have visitors unless things changed. Again, a lot of this could potentially change with CDC recommendations. And then really the graduation would also be on that same day, the 22nd, looking to start that around 5:30 with the rain date of the 24th. Outdoor ceremony. Oh, and I put CMAP, and I apologize. I don't have a copy of it, but basically, if you're familiar with the backside of the school, the setup would be up against the school building by the 5th grade, back where there's that the concrete, and they have it mapped out and have talked to Gary about I think we talked about using paint and painting boxes that would, and I think I put pods on here with the numbered pods and how many folks could be in those, and have the students with their family members in those pods. And then I think probably the bigger piece down at the bottom was we had talked about, I know the board had asked questions about if we were to do caps and gowns or if we were to do just tassels. So there's the cost of what it would be per student. With just tassels, it would be $8 per student. If we went ahead and did the caps and gowns, it would be a total of $20. per student. So I think the advisors were good with whatever the board chose, but just wanted to give all of that information to help make the best decision.
Well, I think, Kathy, we just heard that we have a very healthy surplus. I don't see why they can't have what all the other kids have had. I don't know if anybody else disagrees with that, but their caps and gowns and their tassels.
I agree.
I agree with it. I agree.
It's important.
Yep.
$20 times how many
I
kids?
know.
49 kids?
No, they need to have them.
Thousand
Yeah.
bucks.
So Kathy, I'm confused again. Why aren't you giving the awards during the graduation? I didn't seem to understand that.
I think just looking at doing that outdoors and the length of time and the day and just the way the pods would be spread out, that would be a bit more challenging.
Okay.
And it just seemed to make more sense. There would be the big awards, and I did not write them all in here, but I think there's the Principal's Award, the Citizenship Award. The bigger ones would still be done at graduation, but the ones that are specific to, I think they're based on subject. And so I think it's highest achieving and most approved for each core content area, as well as the UAs, that we would look at moving those and doing those during the day. And again, we would make sure we have that videoed and provide that so that they would have access to all of that.
So their class trip would be to Chuckster's, is that what you said?
Yep.
Okay.
Interesting.
I don't even know
So,
what that is. So, because I
It's
think
like a mini golf,
Yeah.
you have
go-karts or something.
climbing walls. They
I think
keep
they
expanding it every year. It's in Chichester.
They looked at, they wanted to try to keep the Canopy Lake, but that will not be open. I believe they said it won't be open other than weekends until after graduation. So that's why that's what kind of brought something different into play.
and I would think, and this is the board should weigh in, I'm one person, but because of this surplus we have and because of what these kids have been through,
Yeah.
I don't see why we can't cover the bus.
I agree.
Yeah.
Everything,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Let's take advantage of the surplus and the times.
Okay.
They have been through a lot. Everybody's been through a lot, but it's time to get back to normal and let's.
They've lost a lot.
Kids need to have some fun. They need to have some fun.
Okay. Okay, so the next sections, I think, the first one is preschool, and it's considerations. It's, after talking, it really is, and this is why, and I apologize. I hope this is reasonable to share. Just what we've done with the preschool, obviously being being a part day and only a half day program. As things were going very smoothly, they increased the numbers. And of course, we were getting more identified kiddos, which opened spaces. And so those are just some things that were talked about, both with the teacher and myself, as well as the special ed folks talking about just kind of how the program has gone this year. So these were just thoughts and things for the board to consider, possibly expanding and doing a full day with 3-year-olds in the morning and 4-year-olds in the afternoon, which would put the current teacher or a preschool teacher to a full-time, capping each of those groups at 10, because the space, it may seem like it's a large space, but given some of the kiddos that we have coming in and the number of adults and the kids in the room, it's kind of tough to have a lot more than that. They suggested, I'm by no means saying we absolutely need to do this, but one of the other suggestions was a developmentally appropriate playground, which I think would be a longer term project, but something just given our playground isn't set up necessarily for school. So those are just things I think that everybody learned in the first year of having preschool at Strafford, and just things to maybe consider. And I think part of the other piece with the having a morning and an afternoon session, my understanding is that they are already full for next year with the part-time, and with the difficulties we've had getting the one-on-one folks and meeting those needs, that if we were to have a morning and an afternoon, instead of trying to have two folks to be with each of the kids, if we had one person, they could work, if it was a one-on-one with the kiddo in the morning and then a different kiddo in the afternoon. So it was just some thoughts around how that might look. So I know that's not a decision to be made today, it's just information to share. Any questions on that?
So right now I see 12 kids in preschool. So where did you get the 20? I'm confused here.
I didn't say 20. I said they're full next year.
I think this is a big discussion. We've already
Yeah.
created a
Yeah.
budget for
And
next
we
year.
need to do this in space. We need to do this in person. I don't know.
Okay. I just wanted to share the other piece is just, and this is a similar grid and all of the same writing that I had shared previously. I just had seen people asking questions about numbers of teachers and grade levels. So this is really just a grid that's giving the current numbers of what we know coming into grades next year and what our current number of teachers are. So it's a similar grid that I've shared previously. So I don't know, I just thought the board would want to have that, to have those numbers and projections to see what things look like for next year. More just informational.
I know I wanted to share about that 4th grade going into 5th grade.
Okay,
So there's
I had
40
concerns about that group.
okay.
Yep. So that, you know what? Can you raise that up? Thanks, Kathy. Okay.
I'm sorry. Yep.
All right.
And I would
So,
agree with the 3 teachers there that are
Yeah.
proposed.
yeah.
That was when I was getting that group, they went from, in 2nd grade, there were 17, and we ended up with 21
Right.
that year. And I know that group has increased also.
Yeah, and we're getting new students in a variety
Yeah.
of different grade levels, and you know, you just never know.
Right.
We just kind of got, you get this, oh, we have new students coming in, and then you hear the grade levels and you're like, oh, it always seems to be in the grade levels that are very high.
Yep.
So, but I'm happy to share this. Like, I thought that this had gotten to the board. I apologize. That's my fault. I just wanted you guys to have it to be able to look at, to think about. It really was not, you know, anything other than just giving some information so you guys would know. And then the last,
Well, I mean, the 4th grade classes, that is large. There'll be 23 students in a class. And if that's, did we know this in September or October when we were creating our budget? Did we know this? That we were going to
I
have
believe I
46 kids in that grade?
But we have 3 5th grade teachers though on file here. I'm looking at one that has no kids. So she must be a remote teacher, right? So when we have two
No.
teachers that are remote, when they go, what is Dubina? Who is she? Or who is she?
so while we shrunk down our 5th grade to 2 homerooms, they still carry each of those teachers is still carrying a full caseload and still teaching a full load of 5th, because we also have, I don't know if everybody remembers that we had the math intervention person that teaches 5th through 8th. So then we have 2 5th grade teachers, 2 6th grade teachers, I guess technically 3 5th grade teachers. But that one person does teach 5th through 8th. So we don't have someone who is not teaching each block at this point, although it may look that way.
Right, but I just see a 5th grade teacher that doesn't have any children.
Doesn't
I
have
see.
homeroom, but does teach every block. So the homeroom is that morning
Okay.
with attendance. But
So
she does-
I guess just what I'm seeing, not knowing,
Mhm.
but two large fourth grades going into fifth grade, and I see 3 fifth grade teachers. So
Oh, I think, Carrie, I think this is for, I think you're saying 46 students will be in fourth grade next year, right, Kathy?
Yes, this is
Okay,
projected
so
for
this
next year.
this is next year. They have,
Right.
there's 46 fourth graders predicted for next year, and there are currently 2 teachers. So that would make 23 students per class for that fourth grade class. So has that number increased, or did we know that number in September and October when we were creating our budget? That's my question.
I believe I shared in an admin report this screen as best I had the information at the time.
Okay.
Hasn't that
we
class,
also have to. I mean, this is stuff that is done in person, but we also have to consider getting back to normal. And we have a second grade teacher who does a lot, but she only has 6. I know she does remote, but she only has 6 students. So, and she's a flexible teacher, so she could be moved around and stuff. There are things we can do after we get back to normal and figure it out. But it won't be.
Wait.
In person.
Yeah, so it's an unusual year,
Mhm.
and we need to sit down and we need to, figure out what it's going to be. The new principal needs to be involved and figure it out. But we need to do it in person, and we need, we're not going to do it tonight. But this being an unusual year, and we have to see after the dust settles what it's going to look like for next year.
Okay.
Before we go start hiring people.
that third grade that is going into fourth grade
Yeah.
has always had 3 teachers in it since first grade.
Yeah.
Am I right, Kathy?
Yes.
Yes.
We have 3 third grade teachers now.
Right, but there's only 2 fourth grade teachers now. There was a
Yep.
need to make that class 3 classes. We can talk
Right.
about that in non-public. We
Right.
need to.
Right.
We
But I'm
can, but we should do it. We should do it in person. And what I'm saying is, there's a second grade teacher that has taught all the primary grades, and I think she's taught fourth also. So there's
I know,
some
but-
flexibility there.
There's
Next year, you're still talking about second grade having 48 students. Is that correct, Kathy?
yes, that is correct.
With
So
3 teachers, right?
you still need 3 teachers.
Right. So I think what we have to do is maybe at our next meeting, look at this more closely, because Kathy, what I'm hearing is tonight you share 2 things. One, you're recommending an additional fourth grade teacher, and that, anytime you have a teacher, you have to say that's $100,000 out of your budget, because you have salary, benefits, New Hampshire retirement, everything else, okay? But then you're also saying you're recommending possibly increasing the preschool teacher to full-time, which right now she's part-time, so she does not have any benefits, any health insurance and such, because she's not full-time. We didn't budget for her to be full-time for next year, and we didn't budget for another teacher. So we have to prioritize what's the biggest need, how are we going to make it work? So those are things to think about.
Right. I just wanted to give the information, and I think the last thing I would say on it with the, and I think I made a note, we still have, if you look at that 6th and 7th grade, that's those 2 small cohorts that have been kind of moving through the ranks. And then we've been, as kiddos are coming in, because even though you see the kindergarten looks at 36 right now, we know that always increases. So I think we're just seeing that those 2 small cohorts, and currently, next year's 6th and 7th grade, that's not the trend. That was a that was kind of an anomaly that happened. And I think we're seeing larger numbers coming in on all of the other grade levels. So it was just really to point it out. And
Right.
I think just letting the board know, and I know that people have been asking questions as well. You know, I know I've gotten emails and I think they've been sent to all of us. So I just wanted to give you guys the information since I know you're being asked those questions. It was really just.
Right, and you're right. We did receive 2 emails about this issue, about the 4th grade class and the size. And I mean, 23 kids in 4th grade, that's pushing it. So I can understand that. I don't remember seeing those numbers in September and October. So, but that's something we're gonna have to figure out what we can do. Yeah, maybe at our next meeting, we can talk more about it. But I do think it would be nice to have Danielle involved too, and John weigh in on that. John is here, right?
Yes, I'm still here. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
I'm still learning. This is the first time I've seen a configuration like this, so I'll need a little time with it.
Okay, Kathy, can you send this to John too? This document?
Yep.
Thank you.
I can
If
send
it
it
was
to
in
everybody.
the packet, then I received it that Glenn sent me tonight.
It
Oh,
wasn't in the packet. We
Okay.
haven't seen it yet.
Okay, thanks, Kathy.
So the last thing
Alrighty.
I was going to say, just a happy thing. So the Project Inspire, if you guys have been in the building, I don't know if everybody remembers that back, it's been a couple months that our counselors came up with the Project Inspire, and actually Bruce did, he drew a picture and it was of something that inspired him, and the kids and the community and the teachers were all invited to kind of draw something that inspires them, and those were collected. And then kids and community members and teachers had an opportunity to color those, like pick the ones that they felt most inspired by. And those are up all around the school building. So if you see those, that's what that's about. And I think a lot of them were by the boiler room near the gym. I think they're kind of everywhere, but if you happen to be in the building, you know, take a look at those. It's pretty awesome. It was just fantastic to see everybody kind of get involved and pick the things that they were inspired by. So I just wanted to give a shout out, you know, to our counselors. That was such a great project. So,
Great.
and that was all I had.
Good.
And I will unshare or stop sharing, as the case may be.
Alrighty. Okay, Superintendents Report.
All right, and I will share my screen and do a slideshow for you. And we have happily abbreviated the Superintendent's Report because transitioning for COVID is no longer an option. So that cuts back on what I have to go over. I do have nominations for you. They are not in your packet. They both came as separate addenda. The first slate of nominations, and I'll be glad, Debbie, if you want me to screen share the nominations list.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, let me. Is a color coded. Nominations list. Okay, make it a little bit smaller so we can try to get it all in one screen. These are your recommendations for the upcoming school year, the 2021-2022 school year. This includes all of your administrators, your instructional staff, your custodial staff, your paraeducators, and your other professional staff as well. And you can see that we have several areas that are vacancies, and we have some areas that are recommended due to new student needs that we have been made aware of.
I had a question on the counselors. they're flip-flopping? Is that what I'm seeing here?
Yes.
And they just, so this is the first I'm hearing of this. Shouldn't this have come to us before we, I mean, there's ramifications. Or they just decided they wanted to exchange jobs without letting the school board know? Is that what I'm understanding?
They had approached administration about for their own reasons about changing, and we had both of them. And I apologize if I needed to bring that. I didn't think about that. They're both already in the building. They'll continue with some of their similar roles, but they have been working collaboratively, and this was an opportunity to keep both of them without losing one or the other.
Right. I personally don't have a problem with it, but traditionally we should know, because sometimes there's ramifications on benefits and pay. One could be, a lot highly paid than the other, and it would just possibly have ramifications. I don't think it's a big deal in this case, but early on in the school board, something like this happened. It ran. We got permission from the school board to do it. You know what I'm trying to say here?
Yep, I hear you.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, if it affects the budget, then we need to be made aware of that. Right. Okay.
Right. I mean, I don't think in this situation it really does much, and if it's going to work out for both these folks, because I do like both of them. I've heard good about both of them and stuff like that. But in another situation, it could make a difference, and we should just be made aware of it before we start nominating people. Is all I'm trying to say.
Okay.
All right. Now, I thought we normally did the professional staff. Are we just going to accept the entire page?
I don't know what your convention is in Strafford. This is the way that we're doing it in Nottingham and Northwood.
Okay. All right. So if
I'm
someone wants
submitting
to
a complete slate.
okay. So if someone wants to make a motion to accept the nominations as presented, and then of course, the positions that aren't filled, we're not nominating anyone because there's no one there, but somebody wants to do that.
I move that we accept the slate of nominations as presented by the superintendent.
Whatever you have to do, you get it out of.
I'll second it.
Okay,
Debbie,
discussion?
Debbie,
Yes,
I had one question.
yes.
On the to be determined middle school teacher, is somebody leave or somebody not coming back that I'm not aware of?
I think someone's not coming back, right, Monica?
Correct.
Okay, and then the tech director, that's a whole nother discussion. We may not refer to that person as an administrative role anymore, but it's there for right now, but that under administration, it may no longer be under that. Okay.
Right.
All right. All right, anybody else have any other discussion? Okay. All righty, all those in favor, I will ask a roll call. Carrie?
Yes.
Okay, Erica?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Debbie? Yes. Okay, all
Okay.
righty, that passes unanimously. All right.
Thank you. And I will return to the slideshow. And then I have an additional nomination, and this is for a contractor. I nominate Lisa Seaslook. I hope I'm saying her name correctly, John. And I am nominating her for the position of business manager. This is an hourly position without benefits, and she would be paid $43,000. This would be from local operating budget, and it would go into effect July 1st.
Okay, I'm just going to clarify before someone makes a motion. It's not hourly, it's a salaried position, but that's how many hours she'll work total.
Thank you.
That's
Thanks.
okay. Okay, I'm going to make a motion to accept the nomination of Lisa Seslick as the business manager at SAU 105 for an annual salary of $43,000 without any benefits, effective July 1st, 2021, out of the local operating budget.
Second.
Discussion. I'm going to ask John to give a little summary because we interviewed Lisa this week. And John, do you want to talk a little bit about Lisa?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I think we reported earlier that we had 4 candidates for this position and interviewed one candidate previously, which we had discussed, both Deb and I had discussed with the board at your last meeting. And then had the opportunity to speak with Lisa, as Deb said, this week. We kept going with the interviews. We were very positively impressed by Lisa. Lisa has an undergraduate degree in business administration. She's worked in the private sector for a number of years. And she's also worked at a private school in Massachusetts, where she works to this day as one of her roles is head of business and operations. She has a strong background. Our only wish was that she had been serving as a business administrator in another New Hampshire school district. But of course, those folks are very difficult to find in this day and age. Deb and I agreed she was a very, very strong candidate and very excited to have her join the team that's forming. We're very fortunate.
Yes, yes. And she is also working on her certification to become a business administrator. And so we did budget a higher amount for a business administrator. So we would hope maybe by next year, she would then be able to be paid the amount that we originally budgeted when she receives that certification. And I guess that's it. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
So Debbie, does that mean that the bookkeeper, I probably forgot, but so with a part-time BA next year, does that mean we're going to have a full-time bookkeeper?
Yes, yes. So Lisa will be working approximately 28 hours a week, so 3 7-hour days about. And then the bookkeeper will be working full-time.
Harry,
And Lisa will be supervising the bookkeeper.
Yes, yes. So, so if she becomes certified and gets her pay increased, that's not going to throw off the budget for the SAU, right?
No, we actually budgeted 48,000. And
Okay.
and so as we have done an SAU 44, when we've hired people who are in the process of going through the certification, once the certification is completed, then we would revisit the salary, which will take probably at least a year to complete.
Okay. All right. No, it sounds good to me.
Great. Okay, anybody else? All righty. Carrie,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Debbie, yes. Okay, all those in favor? It was unanimous. Okay, thank
Very
you.
good. The stars are lining up over
Yes.
S5.
Uh-huh.
In correspondence, you have received, I believe it was in your addendum, the general assurances document that Debbie and I will need to sign. This is just a formality for the state that we are certifying that the district will comply with all federal requirements. We're required to do that annually in order for the district to continue to receive federal title funds. And it's a long federal document. She and I will initial every page and then sign at the end. I don't believe that you need a board vote to authorize us to sign it, but if you wanted to take a board vote, it wouldn't hurt.
Is this something that's done every year or is this something that's new?
It's an annual process.
Annual.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Liz, if I could just share my experience, it is relatively new. It is an annual process, but this is not the first year.
Okay.
We probably should have a motion. Would someone like to make a motion? Somebody.
I was trying to
Liz?
unmute. Sorry.
I was gonna say,
Erica's
where's
good at
Erica? We need Erica.
I move that we authorize the chair of the school board and the superintendent to sign the verification for the Department of Ed around the appropriate use of title funds.
I'll second it.
Second.
Okay. All righty. So discussion. Okay, so this is the general assurances document. And am I able to sign that electronically, Monica, or do I have to come into the SAU or?
We'll put it into DocuSign and you can just click through every page.
Perfect. Okay. All righty. Anybody else have any more comments or questions? All right, Carrie,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Debbie, yes. Okay, good. All right.
Thank you. One
You're
good
welcome.
thing that's come out of this pandemic is DocuSign.
Yeah.
Never goes away. Okay, your school board timeline for the month of May. You have actually been engaging in some discussion of your budget surplus that's scheduled for the first May meeting. In your second May meeting in the principal's report, you'll be hearing about achievement data and discipline data. I do have a local update. Gary arranged spraying so that kids are not impacted, but we have an extraordinary tick infestation this year. And I'm seeing it in all 3 schools in the district. And I've talked to a couple of my fellow superintendents, and it's just a bad tick season. I guess maybe the mild winter, not really sure. But that was taken care of this week while the kids are out on break. In state updates, I know everyone saw on the news recently, the governor has permitted the mask mandate the state mask mandate. Local government and private entities are still allowed to continue mask mandates at their discretion. And I do recommend that we continue requiring masks at Strafford School until either the CDC or the Department of Health and Human Services no longer recommend it as a mitigation strategy.
I have a question about that, Monica. I was wondering, just new information came out yesterday, I think, how the board feels about allowing the kids when they're outside to be able to remove their mask now that I would think any adult in the building who wanted to be vaccinated has been vaccinated, just because the weather's getting warmer. I know in the beginning of the year, the kids did remove their masks outside and they even had mask breaks. I would support that. I feel that the age of the students in the school, the data shows that they really there's such a very, very, very small chance of them having a serious side effect that being outside and breathing the fresh air during May and June, I think is healthy for them. And I understand the issue with the social distancing in the building and that, but being outside, I don't see why we can't go back to what we were doing in the beginning of the year with the kids being able to take their masks off when they played outside.
I totally agree with that. Totally agree. Outside especially. There's nothing better than fresh air. I mean, you pull your mask off and you can just tell. You know, there's no reason to have masks on outside, and that's my personal opinion, but it just makes sense. You know, it just makes sense, and we need to get back to normal, work our way back to normal. That would be a good step in the right direction. And you know, I've done research on it's not a children's disease unless you're a sick child, but you need some fresh air, you know, and, you know, make it optional or whatever, you know, and if the parents are okay with their kids taking their mask off, then so be it. You know, I think we need to start trying to get back to normal.
I think it's a good idea. I would like to hear from Dr. Henson and Kathy if there's a downside that we're missing somehow, because it seems like a no-brainer. I just want to make sure we're not missing an angle.
Yeah. Yep.
Liz, did you have something you wanted to add before I weigh in?
No, I'm just thinking about trying to be in a teacher's role and trying to figure out, like, if you're out at recess, who has permission to take off a mask and who doesn't. You know, that becomes a little bit more difficult I'm just mulling it over. I want to hear what other people think.
I think in the beginning of the year, the kids went outside, it was a mask break, basically. They had recess
Yeah,
and they took their masks out.
I understand that.
And I think at that point too, we probably, any student who parents felt strongly about, you know, that they needed to, maybe they had an underlying illness, or a family member did, I think they stayed remote. So we were sort of in that type of situation in the beginning of the year. I don't know where we're at now, but I don't know. I just think it just came out yesterday. I think that they said even, you know, people who have been vaccinated can take their masks off outside.
Unless you're in a crowded area.
Yeah, right. But I mean, we've worked it out where the kids who are playing outside they don't have that many classes out at once. And we've done that all year. So it's not, you know, we don't have 400 kids out there at once.
Kathy, what's your thought?
It's a tough one. You know, I think we are continuing to see kiddos testing positive. You know, we are seeing that in the building. And there's a part of me that loves the idea of fresh air. And I think what we tried to do initially with the mask breaks outside was, as long as they were staying 6 feet away, we were still doing the social distancing. And I think what we ultimately saw before we said, you know, that they needed to have them all the time, was that kids preferred to be around one another. You know, it was more important to them to socialize and interact with their friends than it was to stay away and have a mask break. I don't know that I have a, you know, I can totally see both sides and see the wanting to do it, but still having a little bit of fear. But I don't know that that's enough to say that we don't do it. It's just, there is a hesitation in me, just because I know that we are still having kids test positive, and you know, that is a concern. So I don't know, Dr. Henson, I don't know if you have thoughts. I would be curious. Kathy Cunningham's, I know she's not here, it's vacation, but I would be curious to hear her thoughts. So.
Well, I think I can't speak for Kathy Cunningham, but I do think that she would recommend that we go with whatever the Department of Health and Human Services is saying. I'm screen sharing now the updated guidance on close contact and quarantine. And this came out, I think Friday, came out last week with, April 20th, came out from DHHS, and the orange font is the most recent updates, so that if kids or adults are in a controlled and monitored classroom, meaning there's an adult in there and they are masked, that as long as the students are seated if they are spaced less than 3 feet apart for at least 10 cumulative minutes, they would be considered close contact and quarantined in the event of a positive. Outside of that setting, outside of the classroom, if they come within 6 feet of someone for at least 10 cumulative minutes, regardless of mask use, they would be considered a close contact if they're exposed to a positive COVID case. So the hitch that I see in student, and I'm not saying it's a deal breaker, I'm just wanting everybody to be aware, is if students are playing outside, and we actually had this happen in Northwood a couple of weeks ago. We had students playing outside and we couldn't confirm because we didn't have video. We weren't able to confirm for every single student that they were 6 feet away from the 2 kids that ended up being positive. And so we ended up having to quarantine a whole grade level, just to be on the safe side. So if we did have children outside and they weren't masked and we couldn't exclude them as being completely 6 feet away from a positive case, then they'd end up being quarantined. And that may very well be a price that parents or a risk parents are willing to take. I know as a mother and a grandmother, I would have no problem at this stage of the game with the adults being vaccinated, with my kids being outside without a mask. I wouldn't want them in super, super close contact with each other. But, you know, I really think this is something for the board to decide. I'm 99% certain our school nurse would recommend that we keep the masks until the CDC says everybody can take their masks off.
That makes it political. I have a problem with it.
I mean, we can, I guess I think that some of the information I've been reading, it has to do, if they're outside, it's so dispersed that it does make a difference as far as them being inside. Just the air movement and everything else. It just came out yesterday, this information about, you know, taking masks off outside.
And
I would be in favor of it. I would be in favor of it for the kids. But we'd have to have the majority of the board feel that way. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that, well, you know, why don't we take a parent survey about this? Why don't, you know, I don't think we should have the absolute authority or not to, I think we should take a survey of the parents, say, hey, do you want your kids to have the option of wearing a mask outside or not? If they want to be close together and play, they put the mask on. They know that they're better trained than the adults are. So why don't we run something like that by the parents?
Okay, so instead of a motion, Carrie, do you just want to maybe just ask the administration to survey parents and see if they'd be in favor of their students, their kids having their masks off during recess?
Yeah. How does that sound?
I want to make sure I'm clear on this. When you say take a survey, you mean basically parents could opt in or out for their kids. You don't take a survey and let the parents vote on the policy for the school.
Well, you know, I mean, this is uncharted waters, but if what I'm hearing is that when the kids are outside playing, and if they want to be in close contact, they have the mask on. But if they wanted to do something else that they weren't close together, they could have the option of taking it off, you know. I mean, I'm not out there.
I hear what Monica's saying. She's saying this is like a policy, and do you want to have that form from a survey? That may not be the best way to do this.
And it's going to take too long to do it.
I'm hesitant to have a parent vote to policy for everybody. If you wanted to have parents be able to opt out.
Yes.
for their kids. I
Okay.
think that would be a wiser course of action. It would.
Okay,
the
I'm
same-
okay with
Yeah.
that.
Okay, so
Yeah,
how about
I
we'll
just
make
think-
a motion, I'll make a motion, Carrie. I'll make a
Okay,
motion
good.
that we eliminate the mandate to have students wear masks for recess
Okay.
and leave that decision up to parents.
Good. I like that.
Do you want to second it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I do.
Okay, all right, discussion?
It's just the management part of it as a teacher, but they'll figure it out, I guess.
All righty. All right, Carrie,
Yes,
all right. Erica,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Debbie, yes. I'm still waiting for Debbie to answer. Okay. It passes. All right,
Okay.
thank you. All
Okay,
right.
Kathy, to operationalize this, I would want parents to state in writing if they want their child to be able to take off a mask. We need to have that on file in writing. In an email, survey, however you want to set that up, but we just need to have a record.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, are you done
Okay.
with your, oh, here, we're still.
Almost. You have a very abbreviated COVID report tonight.
Okay.
Your community transmission rate statewide is going down. Your test positivity rate is going down, although your new cases rate continues to rise. In Strafford County, your test positivity rate is still in the caution zone, and your new cases rate is actually lower than the state level. But you don't need to see a matrix anymore because we don't have a choice. We have our doors open 5 days a week. So that concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay. All righty, and then for correspondence, I can't read the letters while I'm on my iPad. We did receive 2 emails from parents, Jessica Grant and what's the other
Like me to
person?
read them?
Do you have them? Oh, yeah.
I have them. Yep. So we had one from Jessica Grant. This was written to the school board. Good morning. I'm writing to you as we approach the last couple of months of the 2021 school year and we begin to prepare for the next year. As always, I want to be proactive and have been interested in what will happen with class sizes in the fall. My oldest is in 3rd grade and her class is one that has 3 classes. This class was very large in kindergarten and had 22 students in each class when they were just 2 classes. After advocating, this group has had 3 teachers for each of the subsequent years. I believe that there are 47 or 48 kids in 3rd grade that will be entering 4th grade next year. This year, there are only 2 teachers in 4th grade. I'm writing in order to ask the question about how many classes there will be for this class entering 4th grade in the fall. I don't feel it would be acceptable to go from 14 kids in my daughter's current class to 23 kids next year. I know that the student placement day is coming up at the end of May, and I'm curious what the plan forward is for this class. I know that we are pretty bare bones on staff now, so I'm curious how staff will be assigned and moved around in order to keep class sizes small. This is something that Strafford has been proud of in the past, and I hope that we can continue to keep classes smaller. My questions here are focused on this particular grade level, but in reality, this is a broader question as to how classes will be organized, knowing that the enrollment for many of the grades seem to warrant 3 classes. I will be out of town for the next board meeting on April 28th, so I do not think I'll be able to call in. I do hope this is addressed sooner than later, since placement day is fast approaching. Thank you for your time.
Okay. And then there was another.
Yeah,
There was another
message
email.
came from Sarah Cutting.
Yes, yes.
I wanted to check, let's see. I wanted to check in to see what the status of teachers for next year would be for the incoming 4th grade. Currently, there are 2 teachers for 4th grade and 3 for 3rd grade. Currently, the class size of 3rd is 47. Is the intention that we will have 2 classes of 23 and 24 students or more, or is the intention to hire a new teacher to support the incoming 4th grade class and have 3 classes of 15, 16, and 16 as we do for 3rd grade now? This class has always been consistently large And with the amount of building going on in the community, I remind you that the class size likely will grow. If you see something different, please let me know. Another concern I have is for our nursing staff and requirements in the school. A friend of a diabetic student informed me that when Nurse Cunningham is out of the building for personal days, which she's entitled to, there is no coverage. This parent is then forced to make a decision if they will send their child to school or keep them home. If the child is sent to school, then this parent needs to be nearby to monitor and administer insulin to her child. I was under the impression that we had contracted a service to provide backup for Mrs. Cunningham. Again, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but it seems that there should always be a nurse on site and not put that responsibility on our teachers or administration to be monitoring special needs kids. It seems like a huge liability to not have medical staff on site. Thanks for your review.
So do we have an answer to the nursing question?
We actually have multiple services that we work with. The issue is being able to find a nurse at the particular time when a nurse is needed. So it's not for lack of having contracts and reaching out and attempting to schedule. It's for a shortage of nurses.
Okay. And that, do you think that's really because of COVID? Or is that just always?
that's
I think
always-
COVID has exacerbated it.
Mhm.
Nurses,
That's been a problem for a long time.
School nurses.
they can make a lot more money doing things other than
Yes.
being a school nurse substitute.
Okay. And I think we discussed the fourth grade concern, which we'll bring that up again at maybe our next meeting. All righty, no other correspondence or presentations? Okay, and the Strafford calendar, you guys are all
Yep.
set?
Yeah,
for-
I'm gonna email Amanda Monday and get another list for the Strafford graduates.
Great, thank you. All right, committee updates. Anybody have a committee update?
I've got one.
Okay,
Well, we had a really good facilities meeting today, and we're gaining interest on people joining, and some good people. The modular, the overhead door is gone.
great.
I was expecting a round of applause. Okay.
Yes,
It was pretty.
It's gone, and we've got windows installed,
Oh,
great.
and we're going to order white paint, Debbie.
Thank you,
It's
thank you.
going to be painted, and
Great.
we've got a 500-gallon propane tank coming in from the same vendor that we use for all our propane, and so it's coming along. It's gonna be nice.
Perfect.
And-
Thank you, Carrie.
Sure, you're welcome. And we've got a lot of things that are pending. Next month, our May 26th facility meeting, we're going to have some discussion on solar. There's going to be some people there that are going to give us a talk, and I'm trying to get as many people interested to show up, and so everybody's listening in on it. And there's just a couple of avenues to get to the same point, but from what I'm hearing, everybody is in agreement that it probably is going to be a good idea to do. We just got to see what makes the most sense for Strafford School to get there. But I feel pretty good about it, and so I'm bringing in all the people that are smarter than me, and there's a lot of them out there, and we're gonna figure this out and make it happen. So that's about it for me for right now.
Great. Thank you, Carrie. I can't wait to see the
You're welcome.
modular. All right.
What's that?
So we do have a transition update, and it's getting dark in here. I'm in this room with no light. Aaron, you're there, right?
I'm here.
Aaron, okay. So since our last meeting, Aaron has done a lot of work for us, and he's contacted several vendors, and we found out that some of the things that we need, they really want us to order sooner than later. That's why I asked Glenn about our surplus to make sure that we would have the money available if the board approved this tonight. Some of the things that we need to get going to have in, just because it takes time to order the things and get them in. We have the 4 IP phones, 4 desktops, PCs, and 1 server software license, an iDrive cloud backup software, 1,000 foot of cable, networking cable to start wiring the modular. The total of those things is $5,200. We also have talked to Frontline, and Frontline's the software company that we really, the professional development staff members love, and they put a lot of work into keeping track of all the professional development. They've uploaded a lot of data, and Frontline has said, if we don't want to lose that data, we can't wait till July 1st to purchase it, to get started with, moving the data. So to get started, they would need $4,900 before, very soon, and then the balance would be due in July. So these are things we budgeted for, but just time-wise, they would like to get this sooner. So the total, if people would want to approve this, it's $5,200 for the first packet I mentioned, and then it's $5,853 for Frontline, to get started with Frontline. So our total, let me total this up, is $11,053. So if the board wants to approve this, we would need a motion to approve spending $11,053 out of our surplus to pay for the needed software and hardware for the new SAU.
Debbie, just as a point of order, are these funds that you would have, if there weren't a time constraint, that you would have spent July 1st?
Yes.
You're talking about spending them now. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, you do need a board vote for that.
Right. Okay.
All right, I'll try. I'll make a motion that we approve $11,053 for the purchase of Frontline and the hardware software for our new SAU 105.
Good.
Second.
Is that
Yes.
okay?
I second.
Nice
Do you have a
job.
second?
Nice
Okay,
job, Liz.
discussion?
Thank you, Carrie.
All right, any discussion? And I just want
Sounds
to thank
good.
everybody, because Aaron's been doing all this. He's been working with all these vendors.
Oh,
And everybody's after him, we need to have this signed. And so there's a contract for Frontline that I need to sign with that, and Atlantic Broadband. So I don't know if we
Aaron
should
does a
make that
great job.
separate motion or not, but all right, let's approve this,
Oh.
and then we'll go on to the next thing. All right.
Can I just say that I love Aaron? Can I just say that in
I
public?
do too.
Oh, I love
I don't
you.
know what we would do without Aaron. I do not know what we would do without Aaron. Oh my
No, me
goodness.
neither.
All right, Carrie.
Yeah.
Honey, you hear this?
Yeah. Okay, Erica
Yes.
and Liz,
Yes.
Debbie, yes. Okay, great. All right, Aaron, I'm going to ask you, do you want to just go over the 3 things that I have to sign so that you could present it to the board? Because I want to get a motion to have approval to sign them.
One of them includes Frontline.
Yes.
So the Frontline contract we have, and that you'll need to sign for that part of that $11,053. And that's for the one-time setup fee from Frontline and a 2 months prorated. And the second thing you have to sign is the internet and phone service contract from Atlantic Broadband. which there's $150 setup fee from them. That's a one-time fee. And it's a month-to-month 3-year contract, actually. I'm not sure if we spoke about that. Atlantic Broadband, it's $209 a month for 3 years. So the term is a 3-year term. And the third thing we need for you to sign is the new Copier Contract from Seacoast Business Machines. And that also, there is nothing due up front. They just want to schedule a delivery on that as soon as we could get that. And then in July, it's a net 30 term. So whenever you pay that, we'll be fine.
Okay, great. So I'd like a motion for board approval for me to sign those 3 contracts. If someone would like to make that motion, if you're all set with it.
I move that the board authorizes the chair, Debbie Hendrickson, to sign the Frontline, Atlantic Broadband, and Seacoast Copier Services contracts for SAU 105.
Second.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Discussion? Okay, all right, Carrie,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
and Liz,
Yes.
and Debbie. Yes. So Liz, they actually have Liz on here, so it's a lot easier.
Oh, wow.
I don't have to like, in my head, change it from Elizabeth. All right, so those were, do we have anything else? Anybody else who, the transition? Do we have anything else to update the board about?
And we also have the health trust
Oh,
Yes,
issues.
thank you.
yes. Yeah.
Yes,
John.
okay, so we need a motion to approve John to sign our health trust authorization, or to give him authorization to sign the health trust documents. And that, it needs to be done pretty quickly because that's all of our health insurance for everybody in the Strafford School District. So they have to transfer all that information, and it's sort of something that needs to be done soon. So if someone would like to make a motion to authorize John to sign the health trust documents.
If I could interrupt, Deb, I'm sorry, but the health trust gives us specific wording for the resolutions.
Okay,
So if I could read those to you, and I think, Monica, for the purpose of the minutes, that Linda has this information.
Yeah.
So there are 2 resolutions. One, that School Administrative Unit number 105 shall participate as a member in the Health Trust Pooled Risk Management Program for the provision of medical and/or other benefit plans in accordance with the application and membership agreement and New Hampshire RSA 5B. And second, that John Freeman is hereby authorized and directed to execute and deliver to Health Trust on behalf of School Administrative Unit number 105, the application and membership agreement in substantially the form presented to this meeting. There's that one membership document, and then there are 2 other documents, one relative to retiree billing and a second relative to COBRA Administrative Services. Fairly standard, but they don't, the last 2 do not require a separate specific language. So it seems as though there are 3 motions perhaps, those first 2 that I've read, and then a third that authorizes me to sign for retiree billing and for COBRA.
who's gonna remember those motions?
Well, we have them recorded on Zoom if anyone wishes to so move.
I so move for what Dr. Freeman presented for signatures with Health Trust and the board authorizing him to sign on behalf of SAU 105.
Okay, we have a second discussion. Thank you, John, for doing that.
Yep.
And so we have a vote. Carrie,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
and Liz,
Yes.
Debbie, yes. Okay. All right, you have everything you need, right, John?
I'm set, thank you.
All right, you have the authority. There you go. So I think that was it with our transition. I just wanted to see if there's anything else. Oh, there are a couple other things we're going to BMSI needs some information, just technical things, whose names are going to be on, who the users of the software and so forth. So we are going to be using, hopefully contacting Dwayne to get some help with those decisions. And I think that was it. So next, set future school board meetings. All right, so we have a joint board meeting on May 10th. And our next school board meeting will be May 12th at 6 p.m. and then May 26th. Okay,
I won't make the 12th, Debbie.
you won't make the 12th, okay.
I'm on diaper duty.
All right.
Send
Okay.
pictures.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. All righty, any other? I don't think I have anything else, just wanna look. No, okay. Public comments.
Debbie, as far as I know, there are no public comments.
Okay, all righty. We do
That was
need a
it.
non-public session. And that is, let's see, you sent me that, Monica, I'm looking.
Yes, we need to go into non-public session under subsections A, B, C, K, and L.
Okay. Do we have a motion?